Imagine a spider character wielding a blade. Imagine that cutting power. Oh, let me stop though. Before I even tell you anything, when it comes to spider characters fighting symbiotes, for the most part, you can argue symbiotes are stronger, you can argue Spider-Man himself is stronger, but at the end of the day, one thing we all can agree with is that symbiotes and spider characters, beings that are bit by a spider and have spider powers, right, have comparable or similar strength to one another. Can we all agree to that, right? The reason why I'm bringing this up is because in this video, I'll be going over different evolutions of Spider-Gwen, but for the most part, when it comes to our power level, I wouldn't say these two are drastically different from one another, because symbiotes in general always give spider characters that have spider powers issues and vice versa. You know what I mean? So even though she technically has two different power sets when it comes to overall power level, I would still say they're in the same tier, if that makes sense. Even though I would say this one might be more versatile when it comes to different stuff. You know, I guess one of the perks to being a part of the symbiote is that she has similar to strength to Spider-Woman plus the regenerative power of Lizard. You know what I mean? So that's the versatile benefit she has with these symbiotic type of powers I'm going to get into later on. Just wanted to get that out there before the video gets started. You know, Marvel Comics is filled with a lot of different characters that we love in one universe, not even talking about the other universes in Marvel. You guys know about Spider-Man of the main universe. He's one of the most popular superheroes of all time, and for good reason. He's very relatable. Marvel is basically a multiverse, or one could say omniverse. There's a whole bunch of different universes that have similar histories. Some have identical histories, then some have drastically different histories. This same concept applies for Spider-Man and Spider-Man-centric type characters. And when it comes to exploring the multiverse, in comics, there's a lot of different Spider-Men that end up meeting each other and having multiversal, universal crossover events and stuff like that. Kind of like how the animated movies kind of follow this theme of different Spider-Men in different universes meeting each other and having team-ups. The character I'm going to go over in this video is Spider-Gwen, a Spider-Woman from an alternate reality. Like, you know, in the main universe, you already know the events. In this one universe, Gwen died tragically. One of the live-action movies even mimicked this Gwen death stuff, like in the Andrew movie. It's pretty awesome that Spider-Gwen got to interact with the main Peter. They had like a little deep moment talking about let's look out for each other. They even call it Gwenverse. There's even a Gwen Thor. Yo, when they say infinite possibilities in the multiverse, they really mean it. Captain America Gwen? What? Iron Woman Gwen? Yo, let me stop. I'm not going to go over all these. Just the Spider-Woman version. You know what I mean? In this video is going to be the one that's going to be focused on. You got the Into the Spider-Verse Gwen and the comic Spider-Gwen, the one that's very similar to the one in Into the Spider-Verse. Let's analyze her, shall we? You guys already know the story. Her story is very similar to other Spider characters, having a normal life at first. You know, you see her playing drums here, like you might have noticed in the Into the Spider-Verse movie or the Across the Spider-Verse movies, animated movies. And then this huge spider comes along, got bitten by the spider, you know, becomes an awesome superhero with an awesome costume. Interesting that the Peter in the main continuity lost Gwen, and in this universe, Peter was like the Lizard in this universe, and he ended up leaving her. And of course, the Daily Bugle would blame her, similar to how Jameson blamed Spider-Man in the main universe for everything. Yeah, the standard superhero mumbo jumbo. With great power comes great responsibility. Fights for people that can't fight for themselves. She's Spider-Woman. You got more lore on the spider bite that made Gwen powerful. They even stated the accident created the spider was 1 in a billion, but it found Gwen. You know the deal. Spider-Gwen. There's even different names she even gets. She ends up becoming Ghost Spider, wearing an artificial venom symbiote composed of a swarm of tiny spider-like creatures that give her superhuman strength. Similarly to what they dub it 10 tons. She can lift way more than that, but similar to her spider strength-like abilities, like they usually say about other spider characters, these beings pretty much give her spider-like strength still in their different means, other than the spider bite, you know what I mean? Like every spider character, she's went through her fair share of adventures, or one could say her different trials and tribulations, and throughout these adventures, you know, we see her with her standard powers and stuff. Comics seem to like to do this, but there was a point where she actually got depowered, and when she got her powers taken away, she had to have a device to kind of mimic her powers so she can basically be superpowered even without her powers technically, so she can still do spider stuff. You can't be a spider character and not have a symbiote at some point, right? And she's been possessed. But don't worry about stuff like this quite yet, like the possessions and symbiotes and stuff like that. I'll get to that stuff later on in the video. You got more lore or background on her if you want to read this too, to help you out when it comes to Spider-Gwen of this universe. Standard stuff, they pretty much tell you about her superpowers. She has super strength, a sixth sense, spider sense. You guys already know about that. When we're talking about her gear, she possesses 2 mechanical web shooters. One could say her web shooters do all the work for her when it comes to creating her web. Just from freaking moisture being present. And over here, it confirms that she's very versatile with her webs, making constructs and things of that sort. She used her web along with other objects to make her own nunchucks to fight with in melee combat, web nets or web constructs to throw stuff back at certain characters. She can do the web wings for her creativity, like the kind of glide, or it's even implied she can make a parachute too, just like other spider characters have done. Let's just be happy she doesn't always have Captain America's shield with her. With this kind of strength she has, spider-like strength, with a shield like like this would be overkill. Thank goodness it's not her standard gear. She wouldn't even have no foes to fight. Deadly metal like this in her hands. Throughout her adventures, we've seen her in spacesuits and even use a ton of guns here. Like, doesn't this look funny? Spider-Gwen using all this. What, is she Cable or something now? Using all these guns? Yeah, but let me stop. This is not her standard gear. This is not something she's going to have throughout this video. This is just me just showing this one time for fun. You know, let me get off this though. Thanks to the Spider-Verse events I pretty much mentioned already in this video, she has this wristwatch size device which grants her access to alternate realities. That's why she's always interacting with canon characters of the 616, the main universe, where the main Spider-Man stage. Similar lore stated about her here. The handbook even talks about when she's Gwenom, when she has a symbiote, because you can't be a spider character without having a symbiote like I already mentioned. Her design as a Venom is dope though. Thanks to these symbiote spiders, even when she loses her power, she eventually becomes this ghost spider wearing an artificial Venom symbiote. You know what I mean? You get the idea. Similar strength to where she got bit by a spider. It's kind of the same concept. Let's analyze her strength before she had to rely on the isotopes, her basically being similar to Spider-Man by spider bite powers, you know what I mean? Spider-Gwen, earlier days, you know what I mean? Very briefly, I want to go over some examples of her willpower, because even when she was technically like depowered, one could say, when her powers were pretty much taken away for a particular instance. Just to give you an idea of how depowered she was, like, you know how Spidey characters in the past have lifted up cars and vehicles, like this vehicle right here, when she's depowered, she can't lift it up. Just to give you an idea of how much she was depowered. One can say because of her spider-like abilities, she never really learned how to throw technically a real punch. I mean, think about it. Why would you need to learn how to fight when you can lift hundreds of tons or close to thousands of tons like Gwen when she had spider abilities? So I guess this was like a real wake-up call when she was depowered or powered down in this particular situation. So one could say that could be her weakness. She doesn't have like super crazy amounts of training when it comes to martial arts ability. For her to apparently not know how to throw a real punch, she sure is creative when it comes to fighting, be able to make her own nunchucks in this particular situation, but that's none of my business. Even roasted her saying, you have no idea what you're doing with your fist. That's funny how other characters be roasting her fighting skill. Saying she ain't got what it takes to ever become a ninja. They even say she has no technique. Y'all leave Spider-Gwen alone. It kind of shows her resilience because she still takes attacks from like ninjas, like hand ninjas. Like in this occasion, for example, with some hand folk or some ninja. We've actually seen her get cut, but the cuts is not enough to keep her down. She keeps fighting. So one could say this is like a mental fortitude type feat, withstanding multiple slashes without giving up while being depowered, basically. But enough of that depowered stuff. How strong is she with the full power of the spider bite? Like this particular occasion I already brought up, it kind of implies her lifting strength as a bare minimum. This is low, lightweight stuff. It's implied her at her full power can lift up this motorbike. This is an occasion of her can't because she knows her powers aren't kicked in. But if her powers were here, we know in her full power, she can lift this up. This is her when she has like symbiote powers. I'm going to talk about later on in the video, her lifting up a car. I think she could do this in this form too. It doesn't really matter if she is a symbiote or not. She should still be able to do this. You know what I mean? Implied to be strong enough to carry the whole dumpster. In this particular occasion, you guys already know this is a joke. This is something Super Soldier Tears can do. She's a spider character. So you know her swinging people very far distances is something she can do with ease. Even strong characters like Punisher, we've seen her swing. She's strong enough to go up to a wall and just grab the window and tear the whole window off the wall. You see these metal doors she can just rip off with her strength. Dumpster doors she can rip off. You can tell she legitimately has superpowers because even when she's not in costume, you see in this occasion with Goblin, you see her literally rip this grate off with her physicals. This could give you a good example of how much spider characters always have to hold back, because when other characters are in her spider body, and they have to deal with her strength on the daily day, they don't really know how to control or hold back her strength. Other people in her body accidentally break everything they do by accident. It's just too much power to contain or get used to, I guess, when this is your first time having this kind of strength. Working together with Captain America, her strength pulls this tunnel ceiling down to show how much power she can pull with all this debris pulled. This is not the last time in this video I'm going to bring up metahumans. You see her preparing or countering attacks from metahumans by pulling their attacks off of certain beings, using her web in conjunction with her physicals here. So it's clear she has super strength, but can she use this in combat? Yes, she can. Because with this strength, along with other factors, she can punch really hard, strike really hard, kick really hard. You get the idea. Like, she can literally have no weapons, but just use her fist. If you're using like these batons, you think you got an advantage, she'll just punch through them. She can punch you so hard into a gravestone to the point where you actually crumble the gravestone itself with her punches. She can punch you so hard to where not only do you go through the metal door, but even after you hit the metal door, you keep on going distance after the punch. She's fighting superpowered beings all the time. One of the beings she's always fighting is different universes versions of Green Goblin, for example, punching them so hard they actually go through actual walls. Despite Lizard, for example, in this universe having the size advantage, size doesn't really seem to matter. She's strong in what she looks, still be able to punch through wood and walls and stuff. Yeah, she's not afraid of using straight hands. You can see like the multi-combo type thing to the point where you can legit see her charge up a super punch and then punch the being through the wall, despite how big this being is, making him sleepy in the process. One can get an idea of how thick this wall is, just to give you an idea of her raw punching power and strength. Oh, another villain she has to take out knocks out his tooth, a vulture, super ultra robots that are bigger than herself. She can punch hard enough to stagger such being and punch its eye out. Matter of fact, when it comes to her strength versus the lizard, it might be a gap because, yeah, when she gets mad and loses control, spider characters have to always stay in control or they'll just beat you to death, basically. When they're surrounded by a lizard, minion beings, y'all get, I would say, big booted, if that makes sense. And imagine a Spider-Man using a weapon against a spider foe, like using a hammer, or better yet, other weapons, like you see her using this device to wail on symbiotes and make him kind of drowsy for like 2 seconds until he gets back up, you know, on par with symbiotes, you know what I mean? It's basically proven in this video already. She can punch or crack brick walls with her just punches power alone. It's pretty much proven on stuff like this. She can kick doors down. That's pretty obvious. We see what her kicks can do and it goes flying. Like not only kicking the door down, but sending the door flying. When we're talking about doors, she's one of those characters, along with other strong characters, loves kicking them down because she can. Like in this occasion, another symbiote encounter. You can literally see her kicking a tree over, proving she can kick a tree over. And when you see how the tree looked on panel, you can kind of get an idea of how thick it was, kicking it into a symbiote character too, might I add, to show her kicking strength. Like if you're not durable enough, she would just simply one-shot kick you. Like I know this is not Peter, but this is Kane, but one of the stronger Spider-Man characters in canon we've seen her interact with and slam him. Implying when you compare it to the standard Spider-Man characters from the main continuity, even though she's from Earth 65, she shouldn't be far behind in raw spider strength. We've seen her hold her ground in team-ups with the real Spider-Man and do kicks and can hold her ground against lizard-level beings, implying the writers kind of want them in the same ballpark when it comes to strength. It would make sense. They have similar powers, just from different dimensions, you know? Basically, if you want to say whatever he can do, she should be somewhere in that ballpark as well. We've seen the main canon Spider-Man lift buses, 25 or 30 ton, 40 ton, 50 ton tanks, one could say, even trains. This would imply that Spider-Gwen should be also able to lift 50 plus tons if she's comparable in strength to the main universe version of Spider-Man we all grew up with. And that's still the tip of the iceberg because we know the canon 616 Spider-Man from the main continuity, like there's this Daily Bugle building in Marvel Comics that's a really tall building that Spider-Man hangs out around a lot. Spider-Man was under the Daily Bugle while it collapsed under him. Of course, this is one of them situations where it was a big strain. It was nowhere near all the weight of it, but it doesn't matter. Even holding a piece or one support of this is insane, considering that the whole building has to weigh over hundreds of thousands of tons. Even if he lifted 1%, that's still thousands of tons. And let's be honest, he lifted more than 1% of this building or supported more than 1% of the weight of this building. That's just me being hyper disrespectful. This can kind of give you somewhat of an idea of how strong these other spider characters are, like Spider-Gwen. I look at it like this. The whole building could have had support beams on the right side you see right here, but Spider-Man characters had to support a nice chunk of it falling over because one of the beams was gone. That's what I see how Spider-Gwen should be able to do. So even if she's not holding up all the weight because some support pillars are still helping her out, she's still having to withstand a lot of pressure as a spider character, which would still be thousands of tons. Like, I'm not sure if the Daily Bugle has an official weight. Probably doesn't, but we can use common sense to know that this building isn't little. Having several floors, more than 10 floors, you know what I mean? Like, there's this website called weightofstuff.com. It can give you an idea of the weight of certain things in real life and how much buildings can weigh. I suggest you look for yourself so you don't have to take my word for it. There's multiple scans of proof of different skyscraper buildings. I'm not saying the Daily Bugle is as big as these skyscrapers, but they give some weights of some of these buildings, all of them being in the thousands of tons, despite the different varying weight. You probably didn't know Spider-Man characters can support thousands of tons, did you? You probably thought they could only lift 10 tons like them guidebooks say. That's like a pun at this point, and that's not to be taken super seriously. When you can hold up 1% of a building like the Daily Bugle, that's automatically multiple thousands of tons you have to support. Like, just imagine a big old weight sitting on her back and she can hold it up. If we assume she's got to be somewhere in the ballpark of Peter Parker from the main 616, it only makes sense. I know it's hard for you to imagine a building coming up to her and her actually having the strength to stop it or halt it. If her muscles are this strong, imagine how hard she can hit or punch. What, can she tremble buildings with her punches? She can dish out a lot of damage and withstand damage. Like Spider-Man Kane is one of the stronger spider characters in canon. You see her take a punch from beings like this, further implying she can take what she can dish out. It just wouldn't make sense, her not being somewhere in the league of some of these other spider people when she gets hit by their foes too, and can keep on fighting and saying it stung but didn't hurt, showing her body can take a lot of damage too. Like, you can tell she can take what she can dish. She can kick beings and they can retaliate and hit her back, and she can just keep fighting back. During her mini fight, she's been hit through walls and is still conscious. You see in this occasion with spider team-ups, they fight this different version of Kane. She took a hit from him, this being giving the real Kane issues, to the point where they even have to double team him, basically. This one's even throwing the real Kane against the wall. The main Kane from the main universe, if that makes sense. So it lets you know the stuff they got to compete against. Her body can withstand attack, and she can hold her ground against beings that can give Canon Spider-Man issues. She can punch really hard, but she's not just a glass cannon. I mean, when you're in encounters with a whole bunch of different universes, versions of Dr. Octopus, Spider-Man-centric type characters, and you gotta survive encounters like this and avoid conflict, I would say you definitely have to be up there with the other standard spider people. You just have to be in that power level for you to cross over with these different Spider-Man characters and for the story to make sense and not be dead weight compared to the other Spider-Man and their spider events, along with other spider characters holding her own against a whole bunch of symbiotes. It's just clear writer intent and narrative meant for her to be in this power level because she's too much of a helpful aid in these situations. If she wasn't in their power range, these situations just wouldn't make sense. If she wasn't on their level, she wouldn't be able to pull up with these other canon spider characters and team up and fight these goblins and hold their ground. You see her putting in work. Like in this case, you see her holding her ground with Spider-Ham. You know what I mean? It's just too many occasions of her holding her ground with the other spider folk. Pumpkin bombs. She has to endure such blasts on a daily. I mean, look at the people she has to fight. She has to be able to fight goblin-type, sentry-type characters. It only makes sense for her body to be able to withstand such abuse. All this poisonous gas she had to endure while also fighting, one can say shows her endurance. Even when it's 15 degrees like a blizzard type thing, she can fight a whole bunch of ninja. Even if they're outnumbering her, she's strong enough to take them all on. It's easy to forget her gear since her strength is incredible, her physicals and her punching power. But as a spider character, we can't forget how good her web is when it comes to helping her fight in battles. Like in this occasion with Electro, you see her web literally have like somebody explained this, like it looks like a beam struggle with electricity. Like you see the beams clash. Oh, okay. Notice how it was stated that if you touch them, the bolts will burn from the heavens. Yet when she webbed them, it didn't seem to matter to the web. It can be used to catch projectiles. She can use this web in conjunction with her physicals to stop an attack that was tearing up the ground to show how strong these webs are and just for her to counter back and make them sleepy. On top of her strength, she can fight fast. Thanks to her universal travels, we've seen her put pressure on alternate reality versions of Electro, you know, beings that can use lightning projection and stuff. We've seen her put pressure on one could say blitz with kicks. It's a common Spider-Man theme, along with blitzing characters like Electro being able to dodge their attacks as well. Lightning level attacks, implying she has speed that can react to things moving at the speed of lightning, proving that she can react to things moving over 200,000 miles per hour. Even when somebody has a gun this close to her head, they're too slow to really do anything when it comes to her fighting speed. Despite him having that gun, you see it was useless. Her dodging lightning makes sense because she can even dodge bullets. Even stated that her spider sense is twitchy, or one could say sluggish lately, she still can dodge bullets with her combat or fighting speed in general. And when it comes to bullet dodging, that's just a common thing. Even Super Soldier Tears can do. She's a Spider-Man tier. She's ridiculously fast and has spider sense. So, of course, she can dodge them as well to the point where they can't hit one. And she can also counterattack to where they're webbed up. This is just pure fighting speed. Beings that can match spider characters' strength and speed like Venom symbiote tiers, no matter which universe for the most part. She can move these beings out the way of their attack to show her speed and reflexes. Also countering attack, evading pumpkin bombs. By some miracle, if you're not convinced that she's as fast as lightning, even though it's pretty obvious she is, like she's bare minimum supersonic when it comes to reflexes, being able to react to things that are supersonic fast, like reacting to missiles, along with other beings like this, all of them avoiding missiles when it comes to their fighting speed. So far in this video, I've went over her being depowered and her original spider bite. But when her power got taken away and she had to use a device to get her powers, I haven't went over that yet. Let me go over that right quick. It's going to be similar feats anyway. That's why I didn't really spend much time on it in this video so far. Like, she's still strong enough to rip metal off of super adaptoid, like the metal plate, for example, in this occasion. Like always, humans are literally light when it comes to her strength. Strong enough to break free of Kraven's hold. Not only that, but throw him into a car. It's just that simple. Can tackle beings into cars, warping the cars, showing how hard she can tackle beings, doing all that damage to it after the tackle she did. I mean, she can basically do everything I went over in this video when it comes to strength. I mean, punching beings so hard, they go flying through walls, or one could say windows. Kicks can strike the lizard. She can kick beings to the roof and knock you out. Characters that's extremely hard to knock out, like Wolverine, it kind of shows how hard she can hit. She can hit a being like this to where they get knocked out for a second or two. That's ridiculously impressive considering what Wolverine can survive. And when it comes to speed and reflexes, yes, she's just as fast as she was earlier in the video. When it comes to agility, fighting speed, and one could say partly because of her spider sense, one could say to mimic the same powers of spider characters. She can dodge bullets at close range. You can literally see it go past her. Fighting speed. Characters like Wolverine can't really land a hit on her either. Just common stuff of fighting speed. Even in small areas, whole bunch of bullets. None of them can hit her. She just blitzes them. You see her fighting speed hit them, handling waves of beings, fighting groups. Her web can still hold other spider strong characters like Miles. To show how strong she is still, or her webs or her gear in general is, you kind of already know how strong she is like this. Let's talk about where she basically gets her own symbiote. Like I already mentioned this early in the video, but yeah, anything she can do before, she can do in this mode too. I mean, common sense would tell you that because if you read enough comics, you know symbiotes do a lot of similar stuff to what spider people can do, along with some extra stuff too, though, which I'm gonna go over in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think we all can agree that her design as the symbiote is dope. Not to mention, just because she's bonded with the symbiote doesn't mean we don't see her in her little white outfit from time to time, which is a nice little twist. With the symbiote, of course, she can lift beings with one hand, so she still has the super strength. Like normal sized humans are just light to her strength. Y'all get tossed aside. Even if you have the size advantage on her, it doesn't matter. She can catch your fists, pop your wrists, chokes this being known as Rhino. We've seen her fight when she had her normal superpowers. She's got the kind of strength and power. She can bust through brick walls, tear up an entire rooftop, just have a temper tantrum, and mess up everything in the area if she needs to. Throws beings to the wall so hard that it cracks. Super soldier, you get your arm messed up and one punch. Not only fighting Rhino in this Gwenom state, but sends him to the wall. Let me explain real quick on why she's so powerful and the differences. Even though her strength level is similar to what she was before when she got bit by a spider, but there's definitely some upgrades, or one could say advantages she has now that she's Gwenom. Like when she fully bonds with the symbiote. Like I did mention this earlier, but I guess I'll say it again. Since that was a while ago, it's basically a hybrid, all the abilities of Spider-Woman, but regenerative power of Lizard. It's even stated in the cases like right here when it comes to her regeneration. She recovers from injuries so fast. She hasn't got cold or food poisoning in years. Stated here, my suit, I can feel it in my lungs. It's still breathing and I'm breathing through it. She can breathe through the suit. She's one with it. They pretty much explain it here when she doesn't have like her spider bite power. They talk about how she suits up in her synthetic symbiote suit, which basically gives her the same abilities as a spider character. So it's like she got all of her spider abilities again, but she got a new name, Ghost Spider. The only weakness is that since she's basically two beings in one, she has to eat extra or the suit will actually fail. Like if you don't feed it enough, her power will literally make her to where she can't even stick. Her powers will fail. Like in this occasion, she said, I'll eat a dozen corn dogs, just don't fail yet. Like in this occasion, like little miniature spider. They call them spider gummies. Like it's the reason why her suit doesn't get dirty, even though her suit is white. It's because her suit is made of spiders. Like you literally see it. You can either call her Gwenom or Ghost Spider. You know what I mean? One can say she can shoot out pieces of her suit, like the little spiders, to track beings down. Like one can say her little old army. She can just randomly make her mask into a whole bunch of little spiders. And you guessed it, like I've been saying a million times in this video, she's been in crossover events with other spider characters. Even with this suit, she's been in crossovers with the Inheritors, a big spider crossover event with other canon Spider-Man. So she has to be in that to your range, naturally. I mean, so just like when she got bit by a spider, whatever that form can do, this form can do better. It's confirmed they're equal when it comes to raw power, added on the fact that she has regenerative abilities. So similar to how symbiote characters in the past, like Venom can destroy the sides of buildings, it's definitely fair to say Spider-Gwen can do the same. She's in the spider level Venom symbiote tiers too. It just makes perfect sense for her have the strikes to flatten a building as well. Added on the fact that she doesn't even have to look like this. She can change her look with the symbiote and still look like this and kick buildings down or punch them down if she wished. Beings like Man-Wolf, we've seen her punch him. One could say into submission despite the size difference. Lifting up these cars should be easy for somebody in her strength level. And let me briefly go over when she was possessed. I guess, like it's implied when they're possessed that they pack twice as much to punch. When she's possessed, she can cut through cables, do the same spider tier, symbiote tier type stuff, but at a higher degree, like slinging cars with their strength. I mean, that's just something that a normal spider people can do. So yeah. One of the ones possessed tearing apart suspension cables. They were so mighty, it was proven that they can give the main 616 Peter that we know and love issues, like by choking him in this particular occasion when they're ganging up on him. She was so strong when she was possessed that she actually gave work to another being like Miles, even though he was possessed. And along with other spider-possessed demon entities, Spider-Gwen was causing a whole bunch of Trail of Destruction, just to give you some idea of how much havoc they was wreaking. But guys, I hope this video wasn't too long. You got to have respect for her by this point, right? Did you know she was this strong? Yeah, she's had quite a bit of power evolution, but yeah, she's ridiculously strong no matter how you look at her. Whether it's with her original spider bite, whether she has to mimic the strength with the isotopes, whether she's bonded with the symbiote, whether the symbiote is starved, she's always still considered in that spider range. In general, being bonded with an artificial suit, being Ghost Spider, she's just basically Spider-Gwen with extra benefits like being able to regenerate faster and things of that such. She's a spider character that has the strength to support the weight of a cruise ship if it was falling on her. You gotta respect that kind of strength. But before I get going, everybody, thanks for the donations, everybody. Respect Spider-Gwen. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.